All right, we're going to get started. Hello and welcome to our well-being webisode, Staying Healthy for the Holidays. I am Kelly, a health service specialist with Geisinger, and with me today is Karen Howard. Karen is a diabetes educator specialist for Geisinger at the Fresh Food Pharmacy in Scranton. She is a registered dietitian nutritionist, a registered nurse, and a certified diabetes care and education specialist with advanced degrees in nutrition and nursing.
Sorry.
Today, we're going to discuss the common challenges the holidays present to our health and explore strategies to maintain healthy habits amid the extra hustle and bustle of the holiday season. Just a little disclaimer before we get started, this information is being provided to increase your awareness. It is not intended to be medical advice. If you have any certain medical conditions or specific questions, please see your physician. Welcome, Karen, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, Kelly and everybody. Thanks so much for having me today.
So to get started, I think we all know that the holiday season is in full swing. There's a lot to do in this 6-week time frame from Thanksgiving to the new year. Cooking, shopping, decorating, baking, wrapping, parties, the list goes on and on. But it doesn't seem that prioritizing our health is often at the top of our list this time of year. Karen, do you find that a lot of people let their health fall by the wayside throughout the holiday season?
Yes, it's common for many people at this time of year. People tend to engage in less healthy behaviors over the holiday season. So there's so many social gatherings that may involve different foods that maybe we're not used to eating on a daily basis, as well as sometimes alcohol. So these holiday activities, another thing to add is often they're sedentary. So in the summer months, if we're at a cookout, we might be outside and moving around a little bit more. But during the holiday season, most activities are indoors, and we might eat and maybe drink and kind of sit around and maybe not move as much. So that's definitely a factor.
Yeah, didn't think of that, the difference between the seasonal holidays and gatherings. So like I mentioned, the holiday season is roughly 6 weeks, so less than 12% of the whole year. If we do take a vacation from our health during this time of the year, is it truly detrimental or is it okay since it's just a small part of the year?
Sure. So it depends. So some people find it difficult, more difficult than others to get back on track after the holidays. So the population of patients I work with mainly have diabetes. And sometimes when my patients get off track over the holiday season, it really can have a negative effect on their blood glucose control, which, in turn can increase complications related to their diabetes. And then in some other patients, because some of the foods we tend to eat over the holiday season also can be higher in sodium, it can cause an increase in their blood pressure, as well as maybe some fluid retention if a person is more susceptible to that. So it does depend on the person.
Okay, yeah, and how quickly we can get back on track, maybe what else they have going on health-wise. So I think when the most people think about the holidays and the impact it has on our health, I think we often, associate it with the larger meals, the cookies, the beverages. You already clued us into it's also the sedentary aspect of the holidays that impact our health. But what else? Are there other aspects of the holiday season that impact us?
Sure. So again, as we mentioned, it's such a busy time of year. I don't know anybody that tells me that the holiday season is relaxing for them. So it can definitely also affect our sleep health. So if we are not getting adequate amount of sleep, that can increase our stress levels and also have a negative effect on our immune system. So I'm sure most of us know over the holiday season we tend to get sick, and it's because maybe we're not eating as well, sleeping as well, and we're stressed. So it does put a lot of strain on our body, or it could.
Yeah, so it's like the perfect storm. It's not just the food, it's the stress, it's the schedule, it's the overabundance of commitments and food, and that really all add up throughout the season. Um, and kind of like we mentioned, I suspect that what impacts each person is variable and unique. But what is the impact? What effects do the holidays and all these items that we just discussed have on our health?
Sure. So, overall stress can increase our cortisol levels. And I'm sure we all heard of cortisol. It's a hormone that our body produces when we're under stress. So, you've probably heard of the fight or flight mode. So, when we're under stress, our body's in that fight or flight mode, which is good because that's our body's way of compensating. But over time, if you have these elevated cortisol levels in your body, it can have a negative effect on the immune system, again, making you more susceptible to getting ill. And then also add less healthy diet into this mix, again, can increase your risk of illness. And also the chronic levels of cortisol can also cause some GI upset, elevate our blood pressures, and cause an elevation in blood sugars, especially, like I said, for those patients that do have diabetes. And even if you don't have diabetes, if you had tested your blood sugar under stress, you're probably going to notice that those levels are elevated for sure.
Good things to keep in mind because stress isn't just associated with the holidays, but all throughout the year. So
Definitely.
I feel like so far our conversation has really focused on the negative impacts of the holiday season, but from doing some research, they can also be a very positive time of the year. They bring us the opportunity to get together with our friends and family and to take some time to be grateful and celebrate all the good things that we do have in our lives. So Karen, is it possible to enjoy the holidays while also still prioritizing our health and wellness?
Of course, of course. It should be a fun time of year. So do not cancel any of your holiday plans or upcoming parties. I always say to my patients, a holiday is just what it states. It's a day. And you have to keep that in mind. It's not the day after because we have leftovers or for the week after because we have still goodies around. You kind of have to think of it as the day or maybe a couple days because, we have a bunch of holidays that are kind of back to back. Um, but you want to enjoy it, have fun at those occasions, but then you want to get back on track with your eating the next day because that's how it becomes difficult to get out of that cycle once you get into it.
Yeah, so when it rolls over and spans, weeks, months. Um,
Right, exactly.
so now I want to, take some time to dive into some tips on how to stay healthy throughout the holidays. The first topic I wanted to explore was exercise. So we just said we have all these conflicting priorities, responsibilities. And if you're like me, who does not like the cold or the dark, it seems like it's the perfect storm to just put exercise at the bottom of the to-do list. What tips do you have for staying active and making time for exercise even throughout the holidays?
Yeah, sure. So I would say you don't need to join a gym to be active. A lot of people enjoy that, and that's great. If that's what you love to do, then definitely do it. But you don't need to spend money or even leave your home if you don't want to be active. And then, of course, weather in northeastern Pennsylvania or this time of year makes it more difficult to get out because if you work and you come home from work, 9 times out of 10 you want to stay there. It's cold, it's dark, you might not want to go out, but you need to do what you enjoy. So if you like to walk, maybe go to the mall, take a walk around the mall or even Walmart. For those that might have mobility issues, especially this time of year, I have a lot of patients that are afraid to go out with the weather and falling on the ice. You can try chair exercises. You can use YouTube and just type in chair exercises. You can find a whole array of exercises that you can do in your home. This one technique a patient shared with me probably about 5 years ago, and I use this all the time as an example. Even if you're somebody that sits at home and watches television, um, if you're watching, standard TV and it has commercials, every time the commercial comes on, if you just get up and maybe just walk around or even walk in place during a 60-minute show, there's, at least 3 commercial breaks. So you can potentially get 7 to 10 minutes of exercise in by still doing something you enjoy by watching TV. And it's those little things that really do add up.
I love that. And I love those tips. Somebody even put in the chat, if you're near the Susquehanna Valley Mall, you can walk in there. They have mileage markers. So, that's great to know. I love to walk. I, usually do it after work with my daughter, but the cold, so good tips even for myself to consider.
Right.
And good tips to keep in mind even outside of the holiday season, but all year round. So we're going to now shift a little bit to our mental well-being. The holiday season, while it can be positive, it can also be very stressful and greatly challenge our mental well-being, from loneliness to grief to high expectations, financial worries, and seasonal affective disorder. These are just a few of the contributors that affect our mental wellness. Um, so my question is, how can we effectively manage our stress and ensure that we aren't sacrificing our mental well-being during the holidays?
Sure, sure. So, of course, the holidays are not always a joyous time for everybody. So, some people find the holidays to be very sad and depressing. Maybe it's because they're thinking of loved ones that are no longer with them. Also, the financial stress of the holidays, maybe, trying to provide gifts for children or family members. It becomes very stressful. And of course, stress can worsen the signs and symptoms of depression or anxiety. So, really, you want to pay attention to how you're feeling and develop a plan. Everybody needs an outlet for stress. So, if you're feeling down or anxious, you want to do something that, of course, you enjoy. So, some of the things my patients tell me that help them with stress is like reading, maybe taking a walk, shopping, listening to music, meditating, prayer, or just seeking the support of others. Sometimes just talking to a family member or a friend can help to reduce stress. But we need to know when to seek help. So if we're trying some of those techniques and they are not working, it's best to probably have a discussion with your primary care physician, because maybe there needs to be further intervention as far as maybe suggesting working with a therapist or a counselor, or maybe medication management. But the key to this is for anyone is to feel, I think people feel they're alone in this. And really, I mean, working in healthcare, I think most of us can see that this is very common, and we want people to understand that they're not alone.
Yeah, it's a really great message. And also just to remember to be kind to ourselves, especially during the holidays. We're, often, me included, my harshest critic, and, strive to meet these unrealistic expectations of the perfect party, the perfect gift.
Yep, absolutely.
So we're going to shift gears a little bit now and talk nutrition. Holiday foods and drinks
Nutrition.
often, they get a bad rap for impacting our health. So what are your top 3 tips for making healthy food choices throughout the holidays?
Yeah, yeah. So, my number one tip is do not go anywhere hungry. So I feel that if we know we're going to a gathering later, we may eat less or skip meals to save up for that gathering. And that is probably not a good option, because what's going to happen is we're going to get there and we're probably going to overeat because we were starving. So don't skip a meal to go to your party. And even maybe consider eating a light snack before you go, because you may be a little bit fuller and tend to eat a little bit less at that gathering. Some other things, if you're at a gathering, is, if there's a lot of appetizers or hors d'oeuvres, instead of getting a plate, just use the cocktail napkin and put a few things on. If you get a plate, I know I am going to pile everything onto that plate. So if you use something smaller like a cocktail napkin just to put a few things on, you're probably going to definitely eat less. Um, Tip number 2 is to stay hydrated. So we want to drink water, water, and more water. Hydration is key to keeping us feeling full and also potentially not overeating. So that's important to do, especially if the occasion has alcohol, because alcohol can dehydrate you. So if you are drinking alcohol, it's good to in between drink some water as well. And this is my favorite. So if you're going somewhere and it's kind of like a potluck and you need to take a dish, take something that is healthy because you know you're going to eat everything that is there that you like, right? But if you at least take something healthy, it could be something you can fill up on as well. And you know, at least there's one healthy option. So I always take the salad. Everybody knows if I'm coming to the occasion, I'm going to make a really great salad. And then I try to fill half my plate up with a salad and then enjoy everything else that everybody else brought. So the salad is going to be low in calories. So if you fill up on salad or vegetables, or even if you don't want to do a salad, maybe you do like a veggie platter. You fill up on some of those things, it's going to help you not to overeat the other items.
Great tips. So don't go hungry, hydrate, and bring at least one dish that has some good nutritional value to it. Um, I think everyone here on this call could name at least three of our favorite traditional treats or food items that we make or enjoy around the holidays that don't necessarily fit into a healthy eating pattern. And now, more so than ever, we see online, recipes that swap out traditional ingredients to make, the recipe a little healthier. So what is the best approach to these favorite, not so nutritional foods? Is it trying a healthy version of it? Is it, making the regular version but watching your portion size, or just skipping it, altogether?
Yeah, so I will never tell any of my patients that they can't have something they enjoy. Because it's going to make, if I tell you you can't have something, of course you're going to want it even more. I mean, that's just human nature. So there is no bad food. I always say there's no bad food or there's no food off limits. So I am a big person in portion sizing. So really, you can eat almost anything if you eat it in the proper portion sizing. Again, like I said, go for more of those vegetables or salads as fillers, because that's really something that would be key to, a good holiday meal. And also pace yourself. I think people don't realize it takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain that you're full. So if you're somebody that's a fast eater, you're probably going to eat more, right? And then after that 20 minutes or so hits, you kind of feel, oh, I feel really full, right? Because it just all hits you at once. But if you eat slower, likely you're going to fill up faster and probably take in a little bit less. So, stop if you're at a gathering, stop, enjoy, talk, chew your food really well, just slow it down. And then, of course, try to stop eating when you feel satisfied, not when you feel like overly full. And I think that's something we all do. When we really love something, we're just kind of eating it quick. And, but if you slow your pace down, I guarantee you'll probably eat less for sure.
Yeah, that's great. Watch portion sizes, slow down. That's really helpful. For me personally, I'm a fast eater. Um, I know you've already mentioned some tips about holiday gatherings, but anything else you could elaborate here on, coming into these, couple weeks, there's going to be, whether you're hosting or going to one, we really want to, how can we navigate these gatherings healthfully and find the balance of enjoying ourselves, but not sacrificing our health efforts?
Yeah, yeah. So again, picking healthier options if they're available. So let's say, for example, it was a meal and you're going to have a turkey. Let's say that's your main protein for the meal. So you want to choose the turkey breast versus the leg or say the thigh because it's going to have less fat in it, which is going to have less calories in it. So, choosing leaner cuts of meat. If you're having some type of a roast, kind of trimming the fat off will also cut some calories out for you. Another thing I always say is skip the bun, unless you really love the bun. So, if you're having a meal, for me, if I'm eating a meal with turkey, I'm going to want the stuffing and the corn. So I can live without the bun. So, maybe skipping the bun. Going lighter on like the gravies or the sauces is another great idea. And, dessert wise, I'm going to have everybody or anybody that's interested in just telling me what their thoughts are in the chat. But if I tell you, there's 4 pies available for your function, and it's cherry, it's apple, it's pecan, and it's pumpkin. Tell me which one would have the least amount of calories. What do you think is the least caloric pie? And you can throw it in the chat. Seeing some pumpkins, cherry, pumpkin, lots of pumpkins. Awesome. An apple. So for those that said pumpkin, you are correct. And the reason being is the cherry and the apple are double crusted. So you're going to have more calories in that. And the pecan, although is made with nuts and there are healthy fat, but fats have more calories in it. So the apple pie is the better option. So, you know, if that's there versus other things, I mean, I'm not saying you can't eat the others, but maybe you eat a smaller portion of those and you do a little bit more on the pumpkin pie. But yeah, they're just a couple tidbits.
Thank you. Yeah, that was cool to see. Because often sometimes you're surprised you're eating the green bean casserole because you think that's a healthy choice. But
Yeah.
so the last challenge that I wanted to hit on to our health throughout the holidays, and you've mentioned it, is avoiding illness. A lot of conditions are just right throughout the holidays to make it pretty easy to catch a cold, the flu, another virus. Um, what steps can we take to avoid getting sick over the holidays?
Yeah. So, of course, holidays equal large rooms full of people. If you're traveling to airports or even via train, like large groups of people there. And of course, like I mentioned before, we're indoors more time indoors. So it's the perfect storm for, spreading illness. So really to prevent is, getting adequate rest, like I said before, because that's going to boost your immunity up. Eating healthy, also going to help. Staying hydrated. And probably the best advice, and I learned this day one in nursing school because they drilled this into us: wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Because we contract so many germs through our hands, and then we're touching our face or touching our eyes. So, being mindful of that. And, of course, if you are really sick, you hate to miss the party, but maybe you need to so that you don't spread the love to everybody else.
Yeah, hard to miss, but definitely the right decision. Um, all of these tips have been, so incredibly helpful
Oh,
to stay healthy throughout the holidays and even beyond the holidays too. Um, but many of us might be already looking ahead to 2024 and thinking about how we can improve maybe an aspect of our health, whether it's exercising more, losing weight. So, to end our conversation, what would you challenge those who are starting to think about setting a resolution centered on health for the new year to consider?
yeah. So I say set yourself up for success. So I mean, a standard resolution for most people is I want to lose weight or I want to be more active. But you have to ask yourself, how are you going to do that? So it's great to have a goal to lose weight or be more active, but you need to fine tune that goal into something realistic for you. So, pick and only pick one resolution, because if you set all too many goals for yourself, you're more likely not to achieve them. And then that gets discouraging. And then sometimes people give up. So, if you want to lose weight, think to yourself, how are you going to do that? So is it going to be that maybe you're going to, if you order out frequently, maybe you're going to reduce that to 1 day a week. Maybe that's your goal. Or maybe it's going to be, I'm going to take a 10-minute walk during my lunchtime. Even if it's cold out, maybe you walk inside your building somewhere. Or just maybe your goal could be, I'm going to choose a healthier snack at bedtime. Whatever it is, just pick one goal at a time. And as you achieve each goal, then pick a new one. It sets yourself up for success. And that's what I do really with my patients. We pick one goal at a time, because often they'll come in and they'll have 10 things that they want to do. And I'm like, nope, one, and we'll move on after you achieve that one. And I think they are definitely more successful by doing it that way.
Yeah, so taking that big, goal and breaking it down. That's great advice. So that really brings us to the end today. Thank you, Karen, for sharing your experience and your tips with us today. Thank you to everyone who joined in to listen. We do have a few minutes if anyone wants to come off mute or type a question into the chat. Um, always happy to answer any questions that are out there.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Kelly. This was great. But I'll stay on we have 4 more minutes in case anybody does have a question.
But if you don't and you are hopping off, be sure to join us next month in January for our webisode on the effects of screen time on mental well-being. I do see a question here. If your goal is to exercise more and lose weight, which goal do you suggest first?
Well, I mean, they're both really important. I guess the exercise is going to help you lose weight. So that's always a good one to go with, because I think often we know what to eat. Maybe we eat the incorrect portions of what we eat, but I think the biggest challenge for most people is, including myself, is we're just not as active as we should be. It's recommended 150 minutes of physical activity a week, which amounts to about 30 minutes 5 times a week. So that might be a great goal to start with, just increasing your activity, trying to get up to that 150 a week. Flipping through to see, good comments. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I see a lot of nice comments in here. I appreciate it.
You're also always welcome to email wellness@geisinger.edu with any questions, and I will connect you with Karen. As employees, do we receive any discounts to join local gyms? Um, there is an active and fit program that, who is that? Heather, I could send you a flyer on. We also have our healthy rewards reimbursement program, so I can send you some information on that.
Well, again, I thank you so much, Kelly, and everybody. I hope everybody has a great holiday season. And if you have questions, like Kelly said, reach out to her and she can forward them to me.
All right, so I'm going to stop the recording. Everybody have a great day and a very happy holiday season and healthy.